Hey team, welcome back to Longship Medic. Today we're taking a relatively complicated biological topic and beating it into something a medic can use before all of his caffeine wears off. Let's talk about inflammation. So, the body's first responder. It can be good or bad, right? I think overwhelmingly it gets a bad rap, but there are definitely aspects of an inflammatory response that we don't want to get rid of. I kind of think of it as the biological version of that guy on the team who shows up, he's always early, he's always on time, but kind of makes you nervous if you don't supervise him correctly. Like, he could burn down this whole thing.
Attack!
God, shit, is that totally necessary?
It's important to assert dominance early.
All right, inflammation. What is it? It's the body saying something's very wrong and sending reinforcements. Every medic should know to look for the 5 classic signs. You have redness, rubor, heat, calor, swelling, tumor, pain, dolor, and loss of function, functio laesa. I use the mnemonic red hot tissues don't function. It covers all of them. Hot is a weird one because it's not calor really, but heat, calor, it makes sense to me.
Hola, soy Dora!
It's an easy way to remember all 5, and the next time your doc wants to quiz you, you'll be ready to go. Blood vessels open up and immune cells come flooding in like they're giving away white monsters at a concert. This is the survival system just doing its job. So we see all of this, and our first reaction is, let's make it stop.
But this isn't chaos.
This is concentrated communication, and the cell-to-cell text messages that drive the whole operation are based around cytokines. Cytokines take part in autocrine, paracrine, and endocrine signaling. Autocrine signaling is when a cell sends out a cytokine that then binds to a receptor on the same cell's surface and causes a biological function or signal within the cell itself. Think auto like autobiography, all about self. A great example of autocrine signaling comes from T cells, actually. When a T cell recognizes antigen and becomes activated, it immediately starts releasing a cytokine called interleukin-2, or IL-2. IL-2 turns right back around and binds to the IL-2 receptor on the same exact T cell that produced it. That signal tells the T cell to start multiplying, as if it just hit the clone army button.
Very impressive.
I'd hoped you would be pleased.
It's basically the T cell saying, oh, that's the enemy? I need more of me. Let's go. Then we have paracrine signaling. Paracrine is a little bit farther. It's where a cytokine is released by a cell and binds to a nearby cell. I think of a paramedic helping the people around them, so paracrine, paramedic. A great example of paracrine signaling is how macrophages call in neutrophils using IL-8. When a macrophage detects trouble, it releases IL-8 into the surrounding area. IL-8 binds to nearby neutrophils, and they sprint directly towards the threat. It's a way of saying, hey, the threat's here, stack on me.
I'm sending IL-8 now!
The signal doesn't go far, it stays local, which makes it classic paracrine signaling. Lastly, we have endocrine signaling. These are the HF signals of the body, bouncing off the ionosphere and shit. My little memory trick is endocrine, end zone, endocrine. Think Hail Mary from your own 1-yard line all the way to the other end. Not that endocrine signaling is necessarily a desperate last chance, but it's the distance that must be traversed to reach the target. A great example of cytokines going long distance is IL-6 during a serious infection or a trauma. Immune cells at the site of the injury release IL-6, and instead of just yelling at the neighbors, IL-6 hops onto the bloodstream and takes the East Australian current all the way to the liver.
So give me some fin. Noggin. Yeah.
When the liver catches that signal, it immediately starts cranking out acute phase proteins like C-reactive protein and fibrinogen to escalate the body's defenses. This isn't an isolated event at this point, it's Pearl Harbor. Essentially, the whole body is in the fight now. These cytokines are the main connecting proteins of the immune system's radio network, and everyone's yelling into the microphone at once. So they have to have different functions and targets. However, before cytokines even take full control, mast cells and the complement system are firing off immediate responses. Mast cells release histamine within seconds, causing the first wave of vasodilation and permeability. Complement proteins, already floating in the blood, activate rapidly to tag pathogens, punch holes in bacterial membranes, and recruit more immune cells. Think of these guys as the initial blast before the cytokine command structure fully kicks in. There's a whole process to this cascade of events. I'm not going to dive into it in this video, but just know that it kicks things off. Pro-inflammatory cytokines are the hype men, right? We have IL-1, IL-6, and TNF-alpha. IL-1 is the alarm guy. IL-6 brings the heat, and TNF-alpha just destroys.
That's it. No, breathe. Find your happy place.
Anti-inflammatory cytokines, on the other hand, like IL-10, walk in to extinguish everything. IL-10 is like a master switch to shut down and suppress macrophages and T helper cells, specifically Th1. The other main anti-inflammatory cytokine is TGF-beta, which promotes tissue repair along with suppressing T cells and macrophages as well. I'll keep it to just these two for now, just for this video, but know there's a whole list. Chemokines are a specific type of cytokine. They tell specific immune cells where to go and use a concentration gradient that cells can follow then to move forward towards higher concentration. Now, let's talk about immune cells, the core responders to any inflammatory response. Macrophages are often the first on scene. They detect pathogens or tissue damage and are the ones that release cytokines, such as IL-1, IL-6, and TNF-alpha, to alert the immune system to a problem. Neutrophils are the ones that respond to those signals and are highly effective at killing pathogens. They neutralize the enemy, but can cause collateral tissue damage in the process.
I'm not gonna change it. Why should I change it?
So you want collateral damage, huh? I give you collateral damage.
Dendritic cells are your intel guys. They are the professional antigen presenters. They capture information about the threat in the form of small, digested antigens to deliver it to T cells, helping coordinate a more precise and sustained response. Natural killer cells monitor for infected or abnormal cells and eliminate them before the infection spreads. These cells rely on pattern recognition receptors, or PRRs, that recognize either pathogen-associated molecular patterns, or PAMPs, which means a pathogen is in your system, or danger-associated molecular patterns, DAMPs, which convey signals of cell injury. In other words, the immune system doesn't care whether it's a bullet wound or a burn or a rolled ankle. If tissue is damaged or invaded, it triggers inflammation. A normal inflammatory response has structure, but sometimes that regulation fails. This is the potential downside of inflammation. Instead of shutting down, the response accelerates into a dangerous positive feedback loop, a cytokine storm. The same molecules designed to protect the patient begin to damage tissue, destabilizing blood vessels and overwhelming organs. In trauma and sepsis, this dysregulation is often the real driver of shock and multi-organ failure. The bullet or pathogen starts the problem, the immune system finishes it. This is why medics must understand inflammation. Your decisions influence how this internal battle plays out.
Do we have things other than Motrin? Yeah, what do you think, every single box in the pharmacy is all Motrin? Yeah, I thought it was just like different flavors of Motrin.
We've all heard it, right? Take some Motrin, change your socks. But how does Motrin even work? Should it be used as often as it does? First, we need to cover prostaglandins. Prostaglandins are another key part of the inflammatory response. They're not cytokines, but they're produced right at the site of tissue damage from the lipids in the cell membrane. Even though they're chemically different from cytokines, they work closely with them to shape how inflammation unfolds. One of the major roles of prostaglandins is to support the early immune response. When inflammation starts, Prostaglandins help increase blood vessel dilation and permeability. That makes it easier for immune cells to leave the bloodstream and enter the injured tissue where they're needed. They also increase pain sensitivity, which may not feel helpful, but the point is to keep damaged tissue protected while the immune system does its job. Now, does that mean you shouldn't be using Motrin when you're on a ruck? No, if you have 10 miles left, let's address that inflammation now. But I digress. Prostaglandins are also involved in raising your body temperature. A fever may feel miserable, but it also makes life harder for pathogens and improves the performance of immune cells. And prostaglandins amplify those signals coming from the major pro-inflammatory cytokines that we discussed earlier. So if those cytokines are the ones calling for backup, prostaglandins are the ones making sure that backup arrives quickly and ready to work. So bottom line, early in an inflammatory response, prostaglandins are supportive. They help immune systems get into the fight faster and help them work more efficiently once they arrive. Prostaglandins are made by enzymes called cyclooxygenases, or COX enzymes. Ibuprofen works by blocking these COX enzymes, both COX-1 and COX-2, which lowers prostaglandin production. With fewer prostaglandins around, blood vessels are less leaky, nerves are less irritated, and the painful hot swelling begins to resolve. Now, the fact that Motrin is a non-selective COX inhibitor is important. Blocking COX-1 can reduce platelet function and gastric protection. In certain trauma scenarios, that trade-off matters. I mean, if you're bleeding, platelets are kind of important. But we'll save that for another video. I do want to emphasize again, though, for the guys in the back, it is the blocking of COX-1 that reduce platelet function. So it's the inhibition that causes the issue, not COX-1 itself. COX-2 selective inhibitors avoid some of these side effects, but they still alter the inflammatory signaling required for healing. So that's why you will see medications like Mobic or meloxicam in your pill packs instead of ibuprofen. Now, COX-2 inhibitors have their flaws as well, but in the interest of staying focused, we'll have to cover that in a later video as well. As technology advances, interpreting biomarkers will become more and more of a core medic skill. Tools are already emerging that can detect cytokine levels in the field. IL-6 rising early, that's a warning sign of systemic inflammation and potential shock progression. TNF-alpha climbing, vascular integrity is at risk. Even basic labs like lactate, platelet count, D-dimer, and CRP tell the story of what the immune system is doing and how close the patient is to losing that battle. Any medic who can read a map can learn to read simple labs. It's intel, and the more familiar you are with it, the quicker you'll recognize danger. Imagine one day, whether it's in a tent, third world emergency bay, or a cutting-edge surgical suite, you might get a lab result that tells you everything you need to know to make the right call. And if you are dedicated to learning all that you can about your role, you'll trust yourself to act. So, will watching a single video on YouTube make you an immunologist? No. But coming back to this material, practicing, applying it in training, and using it in the real world will build mastery. Remember, tools save seconds, but training saves lives. When others see stable patients, maybe you'll notice the subtle sign that inflammation is gearing up for a catastrophic turn. That's the difference between being a Pez dispenser for your guys and actually practicing medicine. Thanks for watching, y'all. I'm the Longship Medic. Stay curious, stay ready. See you in the next one.